This is Jarrod Horak, and in this video I will recap the racing action at Saratoga from July 3rd through 6th. The track was fast and the turf was firm all week, and in this video I'll go through each of the 4 racing days. I'll talk about the track profile, how the turf course played, winning jockeys and trainers, and then also some stakes recaps. Now for Thursday, July 3rd, there were 3 front-running winners on the main track at 1 mile and an eighth, 6.5 furlongs, and 5.5 furlongs. A couple of races were run at 5.5 furlongs on the turf course, and we saw a closing favorite win and a 7-1 front-runner score. So at that 5.5 furlong distance on turf seemed to play fair. Now a couple of turf routes. One was at 1 mile on the inner turf course, and a front-running winner won that one. And then a 12-1 front-runner graduated at 1 mile and a 16th on the inner turf course. For the winning jockeys, Jose Ortiz and Luis Saez, they both rode 2 winners. And then on the trainer side, Linda Rice and Rudy Rodriguez, they both saddled 2 winners. Linda Rice's winners were on the main track, Rudy Rodriguez main track route races. Now they had some stakes races at Saratoga on July 3rd. The Grade 3 Victory Ride for 3-year-old fillies at 1 mile at 6.5 furlongs, on the main track. And what in the literal scratched, that left a 4-horse field. Holly Grove was able to get out there and set the pace, but she was being pressured by Echo Sound, your 3-2 favorite, and that one chased from second, took over the lead, and won easily by 4 1/4 lengths. Now my top choice in this race, Beauty Reigns, I did a video on this one. I picked Beauty Reigns over Echo Sound, but Beauty Reigns could only be second best here. Broke slow from the inside post, stalked the pace, and was a clear second. Indy Bay finished 3rd. Holly Grove, that pace setter, weakened to finish 4th. And Luis Saez rode the winner for Rusty Arnold, and the final time for the 6.5 furlongs on the main track, 1:15.94 seconds. The Wild Applause Stakes for 3-year-old fillies, 1 mile on the inner turf course, and we had some scratches here, especially that one was a stake scratch, and then Ruth was a main track only runner that ended up scratching. So 6 horses ran in this race, and Classic Q was the favorite, and she was able to get out there and make the lead. Now I picked Lavender Disaster, and she wanted to be right up there on the lead, but she couldn't go with Classic Q. She was taken back off the pace, sitting in second. So Classic Q was clear. After a half mile, she was 3 lengths in front, and she really had this race under control throughout. Now Play with Fire was getting to the Classic Q in the late going, that favorite, but the race was really over. She just ran out of time, and Classic Q was able to win by a half length and paid $5.30. Now Play with Fire was second best. Lavender Disaster ended up finishing best of the rest in 3rd. And then we also had Fixin' to Be, Midway Memories, and Love and Poetry. They rounded out the order of finish. Now Jose Ortiz rode the winner for trainer Mark Cassie, and the final time was 1:33.21. Now Saratoga for the 4th of July, we saw 3 front-running winners on the main track at 6.5 furlongs. 2 races were won wire to wire at that distance, and then 1 mile and a quarter. Now on the turf course, we saw a 5-2 Stalker break the maiden at 5.5 furlongs, and then we saw a 7-2 front runner win the Harvey Pack Stakes at 5.5 furlongs, and I'll talk about that one in a couple minutes. Now we saw a 5-2 front runner win at 1 mile on the inner turf course, and then a stalking favorite win the Manila Stakes at that same distance. That was Zulu Kingdom. Again, I'll recap that race in a minute. And then we saw an 8-1 front runner break the maiden at 1 mile and a 16th on the inner turf course, and then a stalker win the Belmont Derby at 1 mile and an eighth. For the winning riders, Irad Ortiz Jr. won 3 races, 2 of them were dirt sprints, and then Flavian Pratt, he guided home 2 stakes winners. And we had multiple stakes races on the 4th of July, beginning with the Schuylerville Stakes, 2-year-old fillies at 6 furlongs, and in that race, My Sweetheart was the favorite. She stalked the pace, she was able to get the lead, but the race was not over at that point. My top choice in there was Kingsolver, and that one was battling on the pace early, got steadied, and was able to re-rally and defeat My Sweetheart by 2 lengths. Good effort there. She paid $8.90. Now, the favorite was clearly second best, and then Simone was best of the rest in 3rd, and Flavian Pratt rode the winner here. And the final time was 1:13.17, not a fast race. The Grade 3 Manila Stakes, 3-year-olds at 1 mile on the inner turf course. And we had multiple scratches: Fire Pit, Golden Channel, Straight Cash, Uncatalyzed. And Maui Strong from the inside post was setting the pace. Zulu Kingdom was the favorite, chasing from second. and Zulu Kingdom paid $2.80 after putting away the front runner and gamely prevailing by 3/4 of a length. Now, Capitol Hill rallied from far back to complete the exacta. That was a nice effort from that one. Tis Dashing stalked the pace, finished third, and then Maui Strong did weaken to finish fourth. The big disappointment of the race, Reagan's Wit, was sitting in good striking range, never did fire here. Now, Flavien Prat did guide home the winner for trainer Chad Brown, and the final time, 1:33.11. The Grade 1 Belmont Derby for 3-year-olds at 1 mile and an eighth on the turf course, and Flying Mohawk was the scratch here. Earlier in the week, he had emergency colic surgery, so he scratched. He's recovering, and he's going to be out of action for 3 months. Now, Tank from the inside post set the pace. I picked New Century. They bet that one down as the favorite, and that one chased from second. And she looked good turning for home, but she just couldn't kick it in. She was just one pace, failed to quicken in the stretch. And then we saw different horses come in. The front runner couldn't hold on. My top choice did not kick it in. And then Test Score, my second choice, paying $8.60, was able to stalk the pace, pounce on the leaders, and win by 1.25 lengths. Manny Franco rode the winner for Graham Motion. World Beater rallied to finish second, and just finishing second over Luther, your overseas shipper. And then Tank weakened to finish fourth. And the final time was 1:45.56. We'll jump over to the Grade 2 Suburban on the main track at 1.25 miles. Disarmed was a scratch here, and Phileas Fogg at 6-1 from the inside post was able to control the pace and just keep on going, and just did hold on. Antiquarian made a late bid, but Phileas Fogg had enough left, won by a head, and paid $14.40. Now, Locked was the favorite in this race. He was chasing the slow fractions, and he ended up finishing more than 6 lengths behind the top 2 finishers, but he was well clear of the 4th place finisher. So a little bit of a disappointing effort from Locked there. The race shape was not in his favor. Now, Kendrick Carmouche rode the winner here, and the final time was 2:02.97. In the Harvey Pack Stakes at 5.5 furlongs on the turf course, there was a main track only entrant, Antonio of Venice. That one scratched. He ran on Sunday. Now, I'll bring the band home. Did win this race by going wire to wire, just able to get out there and control the pace at 7-2, paid $9.30. He wasn't really seriously threatened. He was just able to get out there, set the pace, keep on going, and winning by more than 4 lengths. And he defeated my top choice, Works For Me, and they bet Works For Me down to the favorite. He didn't have the best trip, but they were never going to be catching. He probably would have been second anyway. They weren't going to be catching Bring the Band Home on this day. An Outlaw Kid stalked the pace, ended up finishing third. And the final time was 59.90 seconds. Now we're going to recap July 5th at Saratoga, and we saw 2 front-running sprint winners on the main track at 5.5 furlongs and 6 furlongs. And on the turf course, we saw a race at 5.5 furlongs, and a 9-1 front runner won that race. Now, going to 1 mile on the inner turf course, we saw a 5-2 closer break the maiden, and then we saw a 6-1 stalker win the Grade 3 Kelso Stakes. And then in a closer at 1 1/8 miles on turf, won the Belmont Oaks. And then we saw a last to first closer win at 1 3/16 miles on the turf course. Big day for Flavien Prat. 5 victories on the day for him. 4 of those wins were on turf, and 2 were in the stakes ranks. Jose Ortiz had a couple winners, and Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott, they teamed up for 2 dirt sprint wins, and Brad Cox saddled 2 turf route winners, and Flavien Prat was aboard both of those runners. Now we'll recap the stakes action. July 5th at Saratoga, the Grade 3 Sanford Stakes, 2-year-olds, 6 furlongs. Impressive performance from Obliteration, paying $3.80. He definitely exceeded expectations in this race. He dueled with Blinging It Back early, put that one away quickly, and he widened throughout, and he won by 10.5 lengths. Very visually impressive effort. And Blinging It Back just kept chasing the winner throughout, never gave up second. He was clearly second best here. Flavien Prat rode the winner, the trainer Steve S. Musson, and the final time was 1:10.65. Good final time here. Impressive looking performance. In the Grade 3 Kelso Stakes at 1 mile on the inner turf course, we had 4 main track only scratches, and then also Nantasket Beach ended up scratching as well. And Arzak was stretching out in distance, and that one set the pace. Now, Donegal Momentum was chasing from second, but he ended up taking a bad step. He eased, he walked off. He seems to be okay. after this disastrous effort from him. Now, my top choice was Intellect in here, and they bet that one down to be the favorite. I thought Donegal Momentum, based on the pace of the race, would be the favorite, but Intellect, it was Chad Brown, so he always takes money in those turf races. Intellect was the favorite, tracking the pace in a good stalking position, surged to the front, and I thought that he might be home free because he had that good finishing kick prior to this race. He finished in 22 and change in his last race, but we saw a sprint to route runner. Think Big, stretching out in distance at paying $15. That one was just sitting in a good stalking position, and he was able to run down Intellect and win by a length. Now, Intellect did run a decent race. He was clearly second best and win for the money, stalked the pace, and finished ahead in meet in third place. Jose Ortiz did ride the winner for trainer Michael Stidham, and the final time was 1:32.81. Fast final time. This turf course was very firm. Now, the Grade 1 Belmont Oaks 3-year-old fillies at 1 1/8 on turf. Not a lot of pace in this race, and we did see Opulent Restraint get out there and was able to clear off early and have a nice lead, but she could not keep going with the top two. She did run a quality race, though. But this one came down to your strong favorite, Nitrogen, and Fionn with Flavian Pratt aboard, and Fionn was able to run down Nitrogen and win by a nose and pay $14.40. Now, Nitrogen ran a decent race, just couldn't quite get the job done. And then Opulent Restraint was a clear third in this event. And Flavian Pratt did ride the winner for Brad Cox in the final time, 1:44.84, and a new track record. Now, then we'll go to Sunday, July 6th, the final racing day of the 4th of July Festival at Saratoga, and we saw two front-running winners on the main track. And then on the turf course, we saw a 13-1 front-runner win at 5.5 furlongs, and we saw a 10-1 last-to-first debut runner win at 5.5 furlongs. So that first-timer went last to first and looked good, winning by 5 lengths in that maiden race. And then we saw an 8-1 stalker. That one won at 1 1/16 on the inner turf course, and a 2-1 stalker won at that same inner turf course distance. And then a front-running favorite wired the field at 1.5 miles. Now we saw riding doubles from Dylan Davis on the turf course, Manny Franco, Jose Lezcano in dirt sprints, and then Jose Ortiz in sprint races. And Linda Rice saddled 2 dirt sprint winners. So that'll wrap up the action from last week, July 10th through 13th. Let's preview this week's racing at Saratoga. Now, the weather is more unsettled this week at Saratoga, so we might not see fast and firm. So as of Monday, July 7th, there's a 45% chance of light rain on July 10th, a 25% chance of light rain on July 11th, and then it looks like partly cloudy skies on Saturday, July 12th, and then a 25% chance of light rain on July 13th. And Saratoga is offering stakes races each day this week. The De La Rose Stakes on July 10th, that's been split into 2 divisions, and then the Grade 3 Coronation Cup on July 11th. 2 graded races on July 12th. The Grade 1 Diana, the Grade 2 Bowling Green, both on the turf course, and then the Grade 3 Quick Call on July 13th. And I'm going to be covering some of those stakes races at Saratoga this week on my channel, so stay tuned for those videos. And I'm going to have a lot of news and stakes analysis videos from Del Mar and Saratoga on my channel this summer. And if you're interested in my full card analysis, I'm covering full cards this summer at Saratoga and Del Mar. Now, from Saratoga, I'm doing July 10th through 13th full cards. I covered the July 3rd through 6th full cards at Saratoga last week. I had plenty of success last week on my full cards, and my full card highlights are on the screen now. Now, after July 13th this week, I'm going to switch gears next week, and I'm going to cover the entire Del Mar summer meet from July 18th through September 7th. But I'm not done with Saratoga this summer either. I'm going to be offering select Saturdays from Saratoga this summer. So I'm going to be doing some full cards this summer from Saratoga in addition to my Del Mar full cards. So go to therunawayhorse.com on my shop page for my upcoming full card schedule and to purchase my products. And I will include a link to my shop page in the video description below. You can pre-purchase my Saratoga full cards for July 10th through 13th if you're interested. And I will email analysis 1 to 2 days before race day, and I will update tickets after scratches the morning of each race day. And check out my Better Bets free picks blog at therunawayhorse.com. When you go to therunawayhorse.com on my front page, you're going to see Better Bets free picks at the top. You'll see that tab. Click there, you'll get a free pick from around the country each day. And like, comment, and share these videos if you like them. Subscribe to my channel as well. It's free to subscribe. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.